Dear student, welcome again. We were discussing the part 9, that is your communication, and in the part 9 we are thoroughly understanding the meaning, concept, importance, nature, characteristic of the communication, and we have got an understanding about the formal and informal communication. Remember, we have classified the communication into two ways. One is formal and another is informal. And in the formal, we have vertical communication, horizontal communication, and diagonal communication. And in the informal communication, we have a grapevine structure where there is no certain flow of information from any level of the manager, be it the top level or the lower level. In the topic of the communication, we have got an insight about what are the different communication networks. The channel is something and the network is something other. Okay, like how many elements are there within the channel is called as the communication networks. Now the communication network, if it is too long, if it is roundabout, it will take too much of time to travel the information. We have like understood the all wheel communication channel, all network communication channel, okay, a straight line communication channel, and we have discussed about what are the merits and demerits of all the communication networks. In the last session, we have understand about the two communication types. One is your verbal communication and your inverbal, or we can call it as a written communication. And we have got an insight about what are the advantages, disadvantages, and how these communication networks or these communication channels can be made more effective. All right. So with this, we have an understanding about the intricacies or the basic concept about the communication. In the module 45, as you can see, we will be discussing the barriers of the communication and highlighting our session towards what are the ways through which the barriers we can overcome. So if we try to align the session or the part 9 communication, we have an understanding about what are the various ways of the communication, how the information travel from the different level or the different layers, all right, or which one is most effective in different situation. Okay, if we call it suppose the manager or an organization want to quickly transfer any information to the different level of the management. In that situation, your all network or the circular network will not be so impactful. Okay. Instead, if we use the single line where only one person is sharing the information to the different levels or the different subordinates, that will be more impactful. Okay. So we have to understand what are the different kind of problems or the barriers which limits the share of information from one element to other different other elements. Okay. So recall the very first session we have in the communication. We have discussed about the communication network as a process of the communication. There were different elements in the communication process. All right. One was your sender. All right. Now sender will be sending some messages. Sender will be encoding the messages. Encoding the messages. Now there will be a medium or a channel through which the message will be shared. It will be received by your receiver. This is the channel of the communication, and the receiver will decode the message again. This is the flow of the communication or the information in a company. And along with that, we have seen that there is a feedback mechanism as well. And what was the most important part? there was a noise, all right, or we can call it as a communication barriers. We have taken some examples as well, like a manager or a superior is like sending different documents to the different subordinates or the different managers of the different departments. All right. Now, sender will be sending the message, there will be message, the message will be encoded, like there will be some technical aspect, only the manager will be able to understand it. Medium, the medium which has been selected is like through email. The message is conveyed to the different manager. The receiver is receiving the message and they are decoding the message. There is possibility that out of 7 subordinates or the 7 different departmental manager to whom the superior is sending the message, it may be 5 are getting the message or they are able to like decode the message, but 2 managers or the 2 departmental heads are not able to like understand the message. It could be they have not seen their email. It could be because of lack of technical issue or internet connectivity issue, they have not received the email. Okay, so what we can call it? It can call as a noise, and to some extent we can call it as a barrier to the communication. So there are different ways through which the information or any kind of crucial facts or any kind of document may not be reaching towards the receiver, or it may be the receiver is receiving the messages but they are not able to decode the message, or there is some problem in the feedback process. So overall we can call it as a communication barriers. So let us try to understand what are the different types of the barrier that like limits the manager to share one information to other. So in this slide you can see there are 8 different type of the communication barrier. One is your organizational barrier, status barrier, semantic barrier, it is very important, inattention barrier, perceptual barrier, information barrier, premature evaluation barrier, and channel distortion. Let us understand each of the barrier one by one. Very first one is your organizational barrier. Then the organizational barrier talks about the structure itself. Suppose in an organization, the organizational hierarchy is very complex. Okay, there are too many departments and each department is having the different sub departments, and within that sub department too many employees are working. It means you have a very long structure, hierarchical structure organization. It means it will take too much of time to travel one message from upward to downward or downward to upward. Let us understand with this, with a diagram. An organizational structure is, suppose there are top level managers, top managers. Within that we have different departmental head, 1, 2, 3, 4. Within that we have, for each department we have sub departments as well, like 5, 6, 7, 8, and each department is having another sub department 9, 10, 11 and so on. So you imagine the hierarchical structure within that organization is too much. So travel of information, suppose the top manager, they want to share any information, so it will be a downward communication. We have understood it. At the same time, when any kind of supervisory manager, they want to convey something towards their immediate supervisor, then they will be sharing towards their immediate supervisor and then towards the top level. So ultimately there is too much of filtration that will limit or make many kind of modification in the actual communication. Okay, so this is the organizational barrier. Second is the status barrier. Status barrier is with respect to the manager's positions. It may be that the top level manager, you are working in a very ambitious project. The project is with respect to, you can take it like artificial intelligence implementation in your software programs. You are a company who is dealing into like some software. Okay. Now your software or the package is now outdated and many competitors are having like automated technology. So you want to like include some latest technology and you want to include the AI thing in your software for the convenience of the users, obviously. Now, as a manager, at the top level manager, you need to like convey so many things, plan so many activities. You need to hire some expert for that. You need to have some kind of budget for that. All right. At the same time, some regulation things are also important. Now, with this ambitious project, you need to discuss so many things with the different level of the manager. Try to understand with another figure, like we have understood 3 levels of the manager: top level, middle level and the lower level. Now you are working in very like big project. So each level of the manager, they will be communicating with like for any kind of activities with respect to the your product concept, with respect to your finances, with respect to your marketing thing, with respect to some kind of suppliers who will be like sharing important resources. All right. So with this, too many interaction will be there, but at the same time, the top level manager or the middle level manager may not be having so much of time, or it may be that they are having a status barrier, like they do not feel so comfortable or so easy to discuss the things with the lower level manager. It may be it against their reputation as well. It happens, like some of the superior or the bosses may not feel so much important that they will be discussing the things with their subordinates. These things are very common. Okay, but we have discussed in the leadership concept, a charismatic leadership is one who like try to involve or take the decision based on the interpersonal skills. Okay, so like a formal leader, okay, or an organizational leader, transactional leader, they might be feeling some kind of hesitance in discussing the thing with the lower level. And the same goes with the lower level to the upper level as well. How? It may be like the lower level manager or the middle level manager, they will be only reporting the favorable aspect of that particular project towards the top level manager. Why? Because they don't want to take the responsibility. It is a human nature. All right. So we can call it as your status barrier, not only the top level to lower level, but from the lower level to the middle or the top level as well. Semantic barrier. Semantic barrier is something like with the same sentence, with the same word, like two people can convey the different meanings. Let me take one example. Suppose right and right. The pronunciation of both the word is the same. Okay, so it may be like you are saying something different. Okay, you are saying the right word, but other people may be confused that you are like pronouncing the WRIT. So it is always better that you correct yourself and plan your speech in such a manner that any kind of confusion should be avoided. So in that situation, you can use the word correct. Okay, so this will reduce any kind of communication barrier. Profit. Profit may be assumed differently by your managers, or to be very specific, top managers, and profit may signify differently for the lower level clerks. All right. So there is a differentiation in the way the message is being conveyed or understood by the different people. It may be the semantic barrier. Semantic barrier you have understood, like two people are conveying the same message differently. It may be because of the cultural aspect, it may be because of your geographical locations, it may be because of some language problem. And we have different languages in India, and we have different culture, tradition, rituals. Okay. So, in India particularly, these problem may be very dominant. The semantic barrier problem may be very dominant if it is not corrected by the speaker or the sender. All right. So, this is the semantic barrier. Inattention barrier. Now, what is communication? Flow of information from one level to another level. Okay. So, let us try to understand the inattention barrier is with respect to information not being perceived, or they are not very attentive. Suppose there is a meeting in an organization, and the manager is conveying very important aspect, and they have called all the managers from the top, middle and the lower. Now that at the same time you will see that there will be certain people who are not very attentive to these kind of messages. Let me take one example. Meeting is called to decide the budget. All right, what should be the budget for the project, the artificial intelligence project? Now, it is a part of the finance thing, the budgeting, accounts, all this part of the finance department will be more engaged in these things of these activities. So, it may be some technical employees who are also attending the meeting, some HR employee who are also attending the meeting. They are not very attentive because it is the things which are being discussed, it is not of their domain. Okay. And ultimately they are losing out some crucial information about the project. So, this is your inattention barrier. Perceptual barrier. Perceptual barrier is derived from the word perceive. Okay. Perceive is what like in a communication, without like reading all the information. If it is a written document, it may be sometimes that you read the first two paragraphs of the whole page and you develop a perception that okay, this message is related to a specific content without reading all the documents. And same goes with the oral communication as well. If you are like listening a speech or any kind of seminar that you are attending, we have like discussed in the training and development program, the employees need to go through some kind of training and development programs. The organization has paid a lump sum amount, a handsome amount to the trainer to train the employees. Now, the training is for 5 days. For the first 2 days, they are very attentive, and at the same time they are learning new skills and they are developing themselves. But after some period of time, they will perceive that they know these things, and that particular perception is acting as a barrier. Okay. So, perceptual barrier is like making a preconceived notion in the minds that you know all the things which is being discussed or which is going to happen. Okay. And ultimately you or your mind is not present there to understand the new skills which is being discussed in the seminar or any kind of workshop. So, this is your perceptual barrier. Information barrier, like it may be that there are certain information or the crucial information which are missing. Suppose in a letter, a manager has sent a email with a letter of your artificial intelligence project. all right. This is the example that we have taken. It contains everything, like how the project will be implemented, how much revenue that we can generate, all right. But the deadline for the project is not mentioned. So this is lack of information for the project. So ultimately the employee will be at their ease or at their comfort that okay, the project will be completed, there is no deadline. So these type of barriers will limit the communication. Okay. Ultimately the manager wanted to convey that the project is very ambitious and it should be completed like within 3 months, but the message was not there. So these are information barrier. Premature evaluation, it means like you are concluding before the project or before the communication is completed. Okay. Suppose there is a workshop. In the training and development program, there is a workshop, and in the workshop the trainer is like giving the crucial information. Okay. And the workshop is for 1.5 hours. For the first 1 hour, the employee or the trainee who is attending the training has got an understanding about what the topic that they are discussing, and they develop a perception or they have a premature evaluation that these things will be like certain and these things will be completed in this way. So this will act as a barrier for the communication, because the trainer or the expert, what they wanted to convey the message is not actually received by the trainee or the attendant, because they have developed a notion that this thing will go in this way, but it is not actually, all right. And the channel distortion is the last one, is with respect to a particular channel that we are selecting. For example, that you are contacting with your supplier, okay, supplier through a phone call, all right. It is not possible that you can meet the supplier like in person, or you will be sending the like post and it will take too much of time, and you need to immediately like provide what are your requirements for the raw material. So ultimately there is only one option that you will be having, is like you making a call. So in that particular call, that the channel that you are selecting is an oral communication. And what we have discussed, the limitation of the oral communication, it may be the message is not comprehended properly, the message is not like explained properly, or there is some kind of channel communication with respect towards the network issue. So what is the problem? The problem is that the information is not passed from the manager towards the supplier. Okay. So these are some of the important barriers which a manager should be keep on mind while they are like transmitting any information from sender towards the receiver. And in the next slide, we will try to understand what are the ways to like overcome these barriers. All right. Clarity of information, we have discussed it before as well, like you need to understand that if you are sending a email or a written document message, the clarity of information should be there. The message, by after reading the message, the sender should be able to comprehend the message. It should be very specific, it should be very clear. All right. Second one is the completeness. Completeness means the message should be complete in itself. Okay. One of the barrier that we have discussed is the information barrier. Information barrier we have understood, like the message should be complete message. Any kind of like we have taken the example, the deadline of the project was not mentioned. Okay. So the completeness means the message should be like equipped with all the relevant information. Third one is the brevity. Brevity and clarity is with respect towards, like, the message should not be too long. It should be clear, but it should not be too long. If it is too long, then you will not be having the interest to read all the message. Like, take it the example of your personal life. If you got any kind of WhatsApp message, if the WhatsApp message is too long, you read initial 2 to 3 lines and then you skip the message. Okay. So, the brevity is with respect to, like, the quality of the message should be displayed, or it should be shared towards the sender or the receiver. Timeliness is with respect to the message. Sometimes the message, like the delivery of the message should be on the apt time, or it should be not delayed. If a particular message is received by a receiver after the crucial things are over, okay, then there is no point of that particular message. Like, take one example, like I can relate it one example, like there is Amazon Prime sale, okay, for 2 days, okay, like 1st and 2nd January there is an Amazon Prime sale. You send the message to your friend on 31st December, but the friend is reading the message on 3rd January. Is the message relevant anymore? Because your sale period is over. The same thing, like, we can incorporate the timeliness of the message is very important. Okay, the message should be, like, received by the receiver before the any particular plan you are, like, for a particular project you are planning for. Okay. Understanding the audience is also important. Like, you are discussing the things. Suppose you are a trainer and you are like having a leadership program for the HR managers. Who are the audiences? HR manager. And you are using so many technical things to explain the leadership concept. So, it may be the HR manager is not so equipped with the technical capabilities or the domain, they will not be able to get the message properly. So, it is very important that you try to understand the audiences, their knowledge, their interest, their domain, their age, education, their experiences. Okay. And with this you can plan your, like, communication channel or the message content. Alright. Consistency of the message is also very important. Like, you need to, like, send the message. Suppose you want to convey information towards your subordinates. At one time you are sending through WhatsApp, at one time you are sending through email, sometimes you call a meeting and discuss the things, sometimes you send a letter through post. So, the subordinates, they may not be able to, like, very sure that the message which is being received by them is from a particular or uniform channel. Okay. Other could be the consistency of the message is with respect to the format that you are selecting. A unique format should be chosen to share any kind of information all the time, so that the reader or the receiver will be able to understand that particular format across any kind of information that you are sharing. Feedback is also important. Suppose you have sent a message to the subordinate and you assumed that the message is received and understood easily by the subordinate, because they have not provided any kind of feedback. We have learned feedback as an important mechanism for any kind of channel or the message to be, like, to make a complete communication. If the subordinate are not providing the feedback, it may be that they have not understood the message, or it may be that they have clearly got the message. So, as a sender, you need to know that is there any kind of problem that is related to understanding the message. So, feedback mechanism should be properly developed. Attention. like attention on the part of the trainee as well as the trainer as well. The trainer should make the communication or the information or any kind of session like workshop or the seminar so interesting, or you can say more of like discussion forum should be created, so that the interest or attention of the trainee should also be increased. Okay, interactive session is more important. And last one is strategic use of the grapevine. Grapevine is your informal communication. We have discussed it. Now we already know that informal communication is supporting the formal communication. How? We have taken one example, like the lower level manager is a friend of top level manager. Okay. In a formal meeting, they may not be acting as a friend. All right, and like they are discussing a new project and all. But the lower level manager is not directly like communicating to the top level manager because of the formal structure. And the lower level manager has got a very good idea. But after the office hour, they are meeting in like a restaurant or a cafe, and now they are acting as a friend, they are discussing the things. So ultimately the informal communication channel, okay, is assisting your communication, informal communication channel is assisting your communication. Okay, so the companies or the manager should strategically using the grapevine structure to assist the formal communication channel. And with this, we have understood about the barriers to the communication and how the barriers we can overcome. And with this, we have completed the part 9, and I leave you with some suggested books. You can go through it and get more insight about the communication. That's all for the session. Thank you.